here today amongst all of our tribal nations that are represented, and moreover, it is good to represent Indian country today. So I want to thank all of our TAC delegation for being here. Thank you for your technical advisors, those that you have brought with you, and I want to thank you for the hospitality from our CDC officials and their guests that are here today. I want to thank NIHB AC and his team for being with us today, and just a wonderful day outside. You know, you take that time as we do amongst our families and everything, but when we come together during business hours, sometimes we don't take enough time to take a deep breath, look around, and really express our appreciation to one another. So from myself, from Principal Chief Chuck Hoskins Jr., I want to say thank you from our tribal nation, the Cherokee Nation. Before we get started, I want to offer a prayer, and I would like to call on our Second Chief Dale Beaver for the prayer. Thank you, sir.
So, if you would, if you are the praying type, I'd ask that you'd join me in prayer this morning. And so, if you would, let's bow our heads and let's close our eyes and let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for such a beautiful day. I just thank you, Lord, for allowing us to wake up, Lord, and just to feel the sunshine on our face, Lord. And Lord, as we're here in Atlanta, I ask that you be with our families back home, wherever home may be. I ask that you look after them, Lord, look after us, Lord, as we're here. Give us guidance, give us direction, Lord, and give us wisdom. And Lord, again, I just thank you so much, Lord, for just all the blessings of life you have given us, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for your son, Jesus Christ, Lord. And Lord, again, I just thank you just for one more day that you've given us to serve you, Lord. And Lord, I just pray all these things in your son, holy and precious name. Amen.
Hello, Chief. Thank you, sir. Before we get started, I'd like to share some etiquette and guidelines for the CDC ATSDR Tribal Advisory Committee meeting. These are just simple reminders. All in-person attendees must silence their phones to be respectful of the speakers. Members of the public may not speak during the meeting proceedings. All participants must keep their mic on mute during the meeting unless presenting or speaking. Members of the public may not discuss potential funding opportunities with TAC members during the event. For TAC members attending virtually, when asking a question or making a comment, click on the participants button at the bottom of the Zoom screen and select the raised hand option located in the right-hand side of the screen. Alternately, you can enter your questions into the chat box. For participants joining us via Zoom, please ensure that your tribal position and tribe are included in your displayed name. There are instructions on how to change your name in the chat. And lastly, for everyone's awareness, this meeting is being recorded and meeting minutes will be available 90 days post the meeting. Now I would like to turn over the meeting to Dr. Dolphin. Dr. Dolphin, we appreciate you. You've been in our prayers. We understand that you're away today, but thank you for your diligence. Thank you for your talent, your time, and your dedication.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Deputy Chief Warner. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 27th CDC ATSDR Tribal Advisory Committee meeting. I am Dr. Les Dolphin, the Director of CDC's National Center for State, Tribal, Local, and Territorial Public Health Infrastructure and Workforce, also known as the Public Health Infrastructure Center. It is an honor to serve as the designated federal official for the TAC, and I extend a warm welcome and heartfelt gratitude to every one of you. I want to begin by acknowledging the Muskogee Creek and Cherokee Nations, whose indigenous lands house the CDC and ATSDR Atlanta campuses. Also, on behalf of CDC, I would like to recognize and commend our TAC Chair, Deputy Principal Chief Warner, and our TAC Co-Chair, Legislator Barker, for their exemplary leadership and commitment to advancing the health and welfare of American Indian and Alaska Native communities through the TAC. Your guidance and expertise have been instrumental in shaping our collaborative efforts. I also want to recognize the TAC members. I express my sincere gratitude to each of you, the distinguished TAC members, for their dedicated service, unwavering commitment, and steadfast partnership. As elected leaders representing your communities, your presence and active engagement in this Tribal Advisory Committee meeting are invaluable. Together, we are united in our shared goal of improving the health outcomes and well-being of the vibrant communities across Indian Country. I also want to recognize and thank Dr. Megan Nichols. I'm not sure if she's there in person, but Dr. Nichols served as the acting director of our Office of Tribal Affairs and Strategic Alliances from October 1st through February 4th. Her work with the TAC has been instrumental, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge her contributions. Megan has improved the TAC member document delivery process, facilitated new member orientation, and led planning efforts for the upcoming biannual meetings. I also want to thank her for all of her diligent work in helping to reimagine our Office of Tribal Affairs and Strategic Alliances. Thank you, Dr. Nichols, for your leadership and partnership. Your contributions were invaluable, and I truly appreciate your efforts. Now I am thrilled to announce that we have a permanent director of OTASA, Captain Damian Kilsback. He is the new OTASA director. He joined our leadership team on February 1st. Some of you may remember him from his previous role as OTASA's deputy director. We are excited to welcome him back and look forward to his contributions. Damian's previous leadership roles include serving as the Chief of Staff Officer, Chief Executive Officer of the Northern Cheyenne Service Unit in Indian Health Service, Acting Director for the Division of Policy and Data at the HHS Office of Minority Health, and Senior Advisor for Tribal Affairs at OMH. He played a crucial role in establishing the Center for Indigenous Innovation and Health Equity Tribal Advisory Committee. Damian received his Doctor of Pharmacy degree from the University of Montana and his master's degree in public health from American Public University. A proud member of the Northern Cheyenne Nation, Damian is the oldest of 6, son of Jacqueline Limpy Tang, and happily married to Danielle Kilsback, with whom he has 4 children. Welcome, Captain Kilsback. Now I'd just like to share a few program updates. CDC's centers, institutes, and offices continue to better understand the public health concerns and needs of tribal nations. Since our last meeting in September, we've held listening sessions on the joint CDC, ATSDR, and HHS Environmental Justice Index tool, the newly formed CDC Grants Governance Board, the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices on the updated recommendations for Vaxelis HIV vaccine, and promoted other agencies' activities, like FDA's Nutrition Initiative and their front of package nutrition labeling listening session. Partnerships and tribal engagements like these are instrumental in enhancing our strategies at achieving more impactful public health outcomes. Our collaborative efforts have shared knowledge, resources, and expertise, fostering a unified approach to addressing the health needs of American Indian Alaskan Native communities. We remain dedicated to deepening our partnerships with tribal communities, improving our engagement strategies, and ensuring our efforts align with the needs and priorities of tribal communities. Now, I'm delighted to turn it over to Captain Kilsback to share some opening remarks with the TAC and provide an overview of our agenda for today. Again, welcome. We are delighted that you've joined us. Over to you, Captain Kilsback.
Thank you, Dr. Dolphin. So it's a pleasure to meet all of you. Thank you. I said in my Northern Cheyenne language, where I'm from, White River District, descendant of Chief Dull-Knife. Good morning. I'm excited to meet all the TAC members and to and a distinguished guest here. It's an honor to serve as your executive secretary for the CDC Tribal Advisory Committee and to be supporting Dr. Dolphin as her role as a designated federal official. I'm deeply committed to getting to know each and every one of you and getting insight into the unique challenges faced by tribal leaders Moreover, I'm eager to collaborate the opportunities while maintaining and upholding the CDC ATSDR TAC charter. I look forward to fostering and sustaining our government-to-government relationship as we serve American Indian and Alaska Native communities. The organizational charts for CDC, including the Public Health Infrastructure Center and the Office of Tribal Affairs and Strategic Alliances, are enclosed in your packets. Our agenda includes a cultural enrichment activity on the first day, exploring the Emergency Operations Center, and a choice of you folks, attendees, to see one of 3 of the labs for CDC. On day 2, CDC experts will present on topics that all of you expressed interest in, such as the building wastewater surveillance with tribal communities to strengthen public health, injury prevention, chronic disease prevention, and a focus on diabetes education and tobacco prevention efforts. Throughout our time together, I hope that we all actively engage with the presenters and listen intently to the insights and feedback shared by tribal leaders. Your invaluable perspectives will shape our collective efforts to protect and improve health for American Indians and Alaska Native communities. I extend my deepest appreciation for your presence at this meeting. Today, we set out on a healthier, brighter future. Thank you. We're excited about the future collaboration opportunities and are committed to making meaningful impact on the health and well-being of tribal communities. I extend my deepest appreciation for your presence at this meeting as we begin our journey on the way to a healthier, brighter future. Thank you. Niyash. I also want to thank the American Indian Alaska Native Hawaiian Coalition for their thoughtful gesture in providing the sachets as a gift today. The sachets were made as a celebration for Don Satterfield's retirement. Don was instrumental in the Diabetes Eagle Book Series as a central employee organization. The ANNH Coalition plays a vital role in fostering connections among AI, AN, and NH individuals at CDC. Now, I would like to conduct roll call to begin TAC business. When I call your respective area or name for the national at-large member positions, please respond with present. Alaska area. Chief Alicia Andrew. Albuquerque area, Councilman Conrad Jacket. Billings area, Councilmember Bryce Kirk. California area, Councilmember Teresa Sanchez. Great Plains area, Geraldine Church. Navajo area.
Present.
Oklahoma area.
Present.
Phoenix area. Tucson area.
Stand by. This is Chairman Vangama for Phoenix area. Thank you. Present.
Vivian Saunders, Tucson area.
National at-large tribal member, Dr. Sharon Stanfield.
Present.
National at-large tribal member, Legislator Connie Barker.
Present.
National at-large tribal member, Councilwoman Hermina Frias.
Present.
National at-large tribal member, Second Chief Del Beaver. National at-large tribal member, Councilwoman Carrie Freeman. Okay, I confirm that we have a quorum of 9 that has been at this time. I will also provide a logistic review. So the nearest restroom locations are going to be on either side of this room. For emergencies, if required to shelter in place, we will remain in this room. If required to evacuate, please head towards the double doors and an escort will lead you to the emergency area. There's water and refreshments at the back table here near this entrance. And a friendly reminder, please, the meeting is being recorded at all time. I will now turn the meeting back over to the TAC Chair, Deputy Principal Chief Warner. Thank you.
Well, do Captain Killsback, thank you for the roll call. Yes, stand forth.
Bemidji area representative here for Councilwoman Jennifer Webster. Bemidji wasn't mentioned, so I'm her alternate, Deborah Danforth.
I apologize. I think I missed that. So we have 10.
10. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Kim Russell with Navajo area. I think someone
Yeah, I think someone
present,
said.
but not too sure who that
Okay.
was, but
Okay,
here on behalf of President Bunagran.
thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all again for the roll call and the logistical overview. And Captain Killsback, welcome back to the TAC, sir. It's good to have you here. Now I will go over a few of the roles and responsibilities of the Tribal Advisory Committee. So please see the slide detailing the Federal Advisory Committee Act, also known as the FACA exemption, and take a few moments to review. A copy of the FACA exemption is available on the HHS website. We will put a link into the chat. Although this is a public meeting, it is important to note that in recognition of this exemption, the public may not participate in any way. Please refrain from using the chat feature of the meeting platform for any other than technical issues, such as a problem with audio or video. However, the CDC ATSDR TAC members can give up their speaking time to the alternates, to technical advisors, or guests to speak on a TAC member's behalf. Before speaking, we ask that members and alternates to announce their name and the area you represent to assist with the transcription services of this meeting. The purpose of the CDC ATSDR TAC is to exchange information with the CDC ATSDR staff about public health issues in Indian country, identify urgent public health needs, and discuss collaborative approaches. Provide guidance regarding government-to-government consultation between CDC, ATSDR, and AI and AN tribes, and ensure that CDC, ATSDR activities or policies that impact American Indians, Alaska Native tribes are brought to the attention of tribal leaders. TAC members make a good faith effort to provide input, guidance, and recommendations to the CDC, ATSDR, and to disseminate information back to the local area tribes that we represent. I would now like to move forward in the agenda to begin discussions on the TAC business items. Captain Killsback and Dr. Dolphin, I invite you both to join in for this discussion.
In your logistics email, we provide an updated centers, institutes, and offices resource guide via the file transfer portal, FTP site. This resource offers comprehensive information about each CIO, providing TAC members with electronic access to essential details that the OTASA team can maintain. It includes details such as the CC director's name, contact email, points of contact, organizational chart link, example priority areas, technical assistance services, budget updates, health equity initiatives, health equity data collection efforts, and endeavors to enhance tribal data infrastructure. Additionally, this guide contains useful information about CDC senior leadership. We have received feedback from our TAC chair and co-chair indicating that it would be beneficial to have this information accessible on the FTP site where we upload all meeting materials. Please note that we will update the guide and share these updates with you via the FTP site. To accommodate members who prefer printed copies, we have copies available at the TAC for the TAC delegates who would like one. Please approach me if you are interested in receiving a printed copy. However, it's essential to remember that this information is readily available on the FTP site and will be regularly maintained there. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Killsback, for the update on the CIO resource guide. I'm delighted to hear that this information will now be available on the FTP site and maintained regularly. Given the fluid nature of information and added value of ongoing virtual updates, this is indeed a significant improvement. So what on to you. Now I'm pleased to introduce two esteemed presenters for an update on the Data Modernization Initiative. We are privileged to have the following individuals sharing their expertise and insights. Ms. Delight Satter, a senior health scientist from the Public Health Infrastructure Center, and Dr. Kucik, the lead of the Data Modernization Implementation Unit. Thank you both.
Good morning. It's so wonderful to see so many of you again. Really appreciate the opportunity to come and share some of our updates. My name is Jim Kucik. I'm a senior health scientist in CDC's Office for the Public Health Data Surveillance and Technology, affectionately called the Data Office. And we've only officially began operating as an office since the beginning of October. So this is our first time at the TAC under our new office structure. The office was really established to operate as an enabler of public health data, working across all of CDC with a mission to promote response-ready data and systems and improve access to and use of data to inform decision-making. This morning, we'd like to share some updates on how CDC is supporting data modernization in Indian country and to share progress on our Tribal Data Modernization Toolkit project. Then I'll turn it over to my wonderful colleague, Delight Satter, to share an internal effort here at CDC to help us better plan and coordinate our support for improved tribal access and use of public health data. Next slide, please. And you can advance again. I'll just start with providing some updates on some of our more recent DMI and data modernization investments. Next slide, please. So CDC continues to directly support, and we've been expanding the number of opportunities for funding data modernization opportunities with tribal public health and healthcare partners. Since initially providing $750,000 across 3 tribal public health partners in 2020, CDC has invested more than $7.6 million in tribal data modernization projects across 6 different partners this past year. I want to particularly call out the support of the Public Health Infrastructure Center in supporting some of the funding for these projects, in particular the Office of Rural Health, which has been supporting a number of the activities. Some of the types of activities that our tribal partners have undertaken using these funds has been to build data infrastructure to improve the receipt and use of public health data, identifying the priority data sets, and addressing governance issues within their tribes to gain and maintain access to data assets, developing and maintaining native workforce capacity to support data modernization, and building capacity for electronic case reporting in a tribal public health agency or tech. I want to highlight just 2 specific examples because we really like to celebrate the successes of our partners. When these funding opportunities come around, we want to make sure that people understand what data modernization is and what some of the opportunities are for you. Our partners in the Little Shell tribe at Chippewa invested in a modernized data management system. They're now capable of managing, collecting, analyzing, and sharing core public health data for all diseases and conditions. This has given the tribe the capacity to track chronic diseases, identify vulnerabilities, provide individualized services to get members to life-saving treatments, and as well as implementing new programs and services based on the information they now have generated and kept within this new data management system. The Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness created the Wabanaki Public Health Surveillance System. This includes data lakes in the cloud server environment that's increased their ability to store and manage diverse types of data and has allowed them to bring in new data sources. And in the spirit of self-determination, they've used the DMI funds to access staff training and development for Native staff in key areas related to data literacy, data analysis, data collection, and databases. I'm happy to share a new and major investment that'll benefit tribal public health. CDC has recently awarded $255 million to 3 national partners to build 4 data modernization implementation centers across the United States that will help drive progress across states, tribes, localities, and territories in alignment with CDC's public health data strategy. Specifically, these implementation centers will support public health to adopt industry-backed, consensus-based solutions for modern data exchange that align with federal health IT policies and standards, and this includes participation in activities to enable a secure nationwide exchange of electronic health information. Of the 4 implementation centers to be established, 1 will be specifically dedicated in supporting tribes. The procurement process for the Tribal Implementation Center is still underway, and so we look forward to bringing more details and updates on the work of the implementation centers when that is awarded. Next slide, please. And because data access is such a critical issue, I wanted to provide some exciting updates to the presentation that Dr. Sarah Sibanya provided to you during the September TAC meeting on electronic case reporting. So for those of you who weren't at the meeting, electronic case reporting, or ECR, is the automated generation and transmission of case reports from the electronic health record to public health agencies for review and action. So in other words, a near real-time exchange of data from healthcare to public health. And since September, the very first 2 tribes have successfully connected and used electronic case reporting, with Turtle Mountain now receiving data via electronic case reporting. And the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community has successfully connected just this month, and they're still waiting to receive their first case reports. Additionally, Turtle Mountain is using some of the DMI funds awarded this past year to acquire and implement a new disease surveillance system so that they can actually better use the data that they're now getting through electronic case reporting. So matching, building that data infrastructure at the same time they're increasing their data access. Our electronic case report team has also another project with the National Council of Urban Indian Health, working with UIOs to begin sending ECR data to their from their healthcare facilities to public health departments. And based on these experiences, our colleagues at the National Indian Health Board, with support from CDC, is developing an ECR roadmap that'll really help accelerate tribal implementation of electronic case reporting. And that roadmap should be completed in July. And with the added support of the new implementation center, will really help scale up implementation among interested tribes. So I encourage you to see Dr. Sibanya and talk with her about details. Next slide, please. Now I'd like to just share some progress on our project to develop a DMI toolkit, which I've been able to present on in the past to the TAC. Next slide, please. So as a reminder, we've contracted with Chickasaw Health Consulting to develop a toolkit that tribes can use to assess to what extent they have the right people, processes, and technology in place to access and use public health data to protect their communities. Over the last year, Chickasaw Health Consulting has assembled and engaged a tribal expert work group to guide the development of that process. And I'd like to thank Dr. Stamfel and the others for their invaluable contributions as part of that subgroup. Next slide. The toolkit is a suite of 4 components to support the self-assessment, with the central component being the data modernization questionnaire. Next slide, please. This questionnaire is designed to guide a tribe through an analysis of the opportunities and roadblocks across several domains to provide the valuable information needed to plan and implement data modernization improvements. These domains cover issues related to internal data and IT governance, policies influencing access to data, workforce capacity, and what technology is in place or needs to be built to better use your data. Next slide, please. The questionnaire component has been completed, and the Chickasaw Health Consulting Group is finalizing recruitment of a cohort of interested tribes and techs to help pilot the tool. Next slide, please. The pilot really is an important step in ensuring that this tool meets the needs of tribal public health so we can make the changes needed where it might miss the mark. The desire is that the pilot participants provide diverse representation, and Chickasaw Health Consulting has been reaching out to many tribes, finding willing participants, and we're almost at our ideal number. If you're interested, please let me know. The plan is that there will be a kickoff webinar with the pilot participants in the next month, with an anticipated 12 weeks needed to complete the guided self-assessment. After that, we expect the toolkit will be ready for distribution and rollout. So we welcome your input on considerations for that rollout, how we can support the use of it, such as the need for technical assistance to help conduct these self-assessments, or to support translating the findings into actionable data modernization plans for your tribes or techs. So thanks again for the opportunity to present today, and I'm happy to take comments after my colleague, Dr. Satter, has presented. You can advance 2 slides, please.
Thank you so much. I didn't know you could speak that fast. I promise I won't be going that fast. I can't do it. Good morning. My name is Delight Satter. I'm Umpqua and Klickitat from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Round in Oregon, and I make my home in the beautiful homelands of the Muskogee Creek Nation here in the Piedmont Forest. I hope that when you woke up this morning, you heard the beautiful songbirds. They've returned, and maybe tonight you'll hear them, and maybe they'll wake you up again tomorrow at 4 a.m. and 2 a.m. and throughout the evening. It's been my pleasure to work with Dr. Kucik for some time on the Data Modernization Initiative, as well as his other colleagues in OPH DST. And I'm going to share with you, I think, some of the efforts that you know that we've been working on, but with a little bit more detail. This is some of the work internal to strengthen CDC in our across CDC, the centers, institutes, and offices, coordinating some of our work on what we call a strategy or a roadmap for ourselves. And I promise at the end of my presentation, I'm going to switch to some Indigenous ways of knowing and share this same story with a little bit of a different style. So first we're going to do like he did, and then we'll do our other way of communicating. So CDC has been working with a growing number of tribes and tribal epicenters as part of the Data Modernization Initiative for the last 4 years. But we recognize that a number of CDC programs have also been supporting a variety of activities to help tribes better access public health data, access and use. To better coordinate across the efforts to identify gaps in activities and to better align these efforts with CDC's public health data strategy, we sought to develop a cohesive roadmap that would allow us to be more thoughtful and deliberative in how we support tribal partners. Now, we want to be very clear, Jim and I, when we're talking about this strategy or this roadmap, this is distinctly different from the work of HHS around the tribal consultation or the tribal data policy. So keep in mind, we're using a lot of the same phrasing and terms, but there are different efforts. Let's see. Next slide, please. Here we have a slide briefly describing the purpose of the roadmap. The roadmap will help us implement an overarching framework that will guide outcomes and enhance coordination across activities, partnerships, and funding decisions within CDC and ATSDR. It will help us establish guiding principles, goals, and objectives to guide progress and track success, and promote accountability and foster transparency and collaboration when implementing data modernization with tribes. This effort was co-led by OPH DST and CDC's Public Health Infrastructure Center, the same center that hosts the Tribal Advisory Committee. A priority action team was assembled from across CDC, comprised of experts who are seasoned in supporting tribes' access and use of public health data from a variety of disciplines, such as opioid prevention, cancer prevention, STD prevention, adolescent health, etc. The priority action team has met multiple times over the past year to define the overall approach and to develop and validate overarching goals and objectives. And we're happy to share those goals and objectives with you today for your thoughts and feedback. Next slide, please. Okay. These are the 4 primary goals of the roadmap as defined by that collaborative across our friends within the CDC. The goal of the roadmap cover broad areas in which CDC can support improved access and use of public health data to protect and improve the lives of tribal communities and Native people. The goals are intended to lead to actionable milestones that we can accomplish in the short and longer term. Goal number 1 at the top focuses on how CDC can support the modernization of data infrastructure and capacity for tribes, urban Indian organizations, and tribal epicenters to access, collect, manage, analyze, and disseminate public health data. Goals under number 1 might include supporting investments in tribes, UIOs, and techs for technical infrastructure improvements. Another example might be developing tools and resources to support data modernization in tribal public health. Goal number 2 has a focus on increasing public health data availability and accessibility for tribes, UIOs, and techs to support public health decision-making through the data sharing and dissemination. Objectives falling under Goal 2 might include developing internal standardization data release guidance that maximize data access for partners, tribes, UIOs, techs. It could include implementing routine sharing of CDC-held data with tribes on a schedule. It could include routinely producing and disseminating analytic findings on the American Indian Alaska Native population from CDC-held data to make data more accessible and available to tribal epicenters, to tribes, and to the public. Goal number 3 focuses on improving the quality of data so that data can be more useful for public health. Examples might include implementing public health vocabulary standards for capturing tribal affiliation and citizenship that align with the HHS policy. Improving quality and completeness of American Indian Alaska Native tribal affiliation information in public health data might be another objective within that goal. The last goal is focusing on ensuring the CDC and public health workforce has the knowledge and skills to support tribal, UIO, and tech data access and use. Objectives falling under Goal 4 might include supporting the implementation of strategies that encourage recruitment and retention of Native Data Modernization Initiative subject matter experts to CDC. It could include training and technical assistance available to centers, institutes, and offices to implement their own tribal data strategies. It might include improving knowledge and understanding of agency tribal data management policies for staff at CDC, and ensuring training and technical assistance are available to federal and non-federal partners in the furtherance of tribal UIO and tribal epicenter and public health data access and use. We've been, as you can imagine, we've been meeting and thinking a lot about how to improve data, public health access to data for tribes, for the health and well-being of urban Indians as well. And it's been a wonderful collaborative over the last year. The roadmap is not intended to be a document that sits on the shelf. This would be a roadmap for a strategy for us to stay active in continuing to meet our responsibilities related to data. The next steps for us will be to identify meaningful milestones that we can accomplish in the next 12 to 24 months. Practically, that's what we're up to. Now, that was a very Western way of sharing with you about the roadmap. Now I'm going to ask the Tribal Advisory Committee members to look in your little pouch. And Dr. Belay and Dr. Kilsbeck, you also have a little coin. So now we're going to go indigenous tribal ways of knowing, Native knowledge. Okay. This is the U.S. Mint's beautiful Sacagawea coin for this year. And you'll notice that there's a beautiful eagle staff on the reverse side and the American flag. And this is symbolizing the 100th anniversary of American Indians gaining citizenship in the US. So I wasn't there, but I'm on the other side of 50. So my grandmother was 6 years old when she gained citizenship in the US, right? My chich. Now think about that. So we have this goal of having next steps for ourselves to improve as CDC in the next 12 to 24 months. But I want us to all, everyone in this room, everybody and online, in 100 years, where do we want to be with public health data? What are we leaving for our descendants related to public health approaches? What data will they need? What information will they need to be strong and healthy? So I thought it was a perfect time to share this coin with you today to help us anchor ourselves in time and across generations. Okay, so we want to build on our successes that we have shared with tribal partners over the last few years. As Dr. Kucik mentioned, so many examples of successes. And we want to continue to build capacity in Indian country to effectively use data for public health action and to make these opportunities available for more tribes, tribal epicenters, and urban Indian organizations. We have a short time with you today, and we are so grateful to you for your thoughts and feedback on our work. And we will also have time to speak throughout the day about the HHS tribal data sharing policy. We are very grateful for your time. And of course, you know, personally, I just can't be more thrilled that we're all sitting here talking about data, which I've been doing my whole life. I love data, I love public health data, and it's just been an honor to work with you, Jim. I'm very thankful.
Thank you both, Ms. Satter and Dr. Kucik. Very, very informative, and thank you for your insightful presentation and although for the reminder of where we want to be from where we've come from. Now I'd like to invite all of our TAC members to share any further questions or comments regarding the Data Modernization Initiative presentation. The floor is open for discussions. TAC members attending the meeting virtually, please use the raise hand feature or place questions in the chat box. When you speak, please remember to state your name twice and the area you represent on the CDC ATSDR TAC to ensure accurate note taking. So anybody that has any, our TAC delegation that has any comments, questions, or concerns. Don't be shy. Yes, sir. Second Chief Del Beaver.
All right, I guess I'll break the ice and be the first one to speak on this thing. When we talk about data sharing, it's I think we all agree that collection of information, especially when it comes to health and well-being of our communities, is very important. And we agree that information though has to be both ways. It can't be a one-way street. And so when we talk about information sharing with tribes, I think it's very important that the CDC, not that they don't do it, but really respect tribal sovereignty. We don't like to give out our information just willy-nilly, so to speak. I think it's been in the past, some information that we have given out has been used in a negative manner against us. And so we're very cautious whenever we share information. And so I would like to see that the CDC, one, acknowledge the sovereignty of the tribes and the specific data that we share with the CDC, and that anytime the CDC is going to publish any of that data that the tribes share with the CDC, that you get permission from the tribes first. We should see that data before it gets out to the public, and that we have a true inherent right to decline if that information to be out there. If it's specific, if a case is specific to the Muskogee Creek Nation, then our nation should have that ability to decline if we want the information out there. And that goes for all nations. And so if there's specific information for regarding any nation, then that tribal nation has its own sovereignty, and it should the information should be requested that would be shared. Because as you know, just because something happens to one tribal nation in on the East Coast, it doesn't mean it's going to happen where we're at in the Midwest. So so you can't lump us in all under one banner of tribal nations. So So one, that's one, is that, we want the CDC to acknowledge, one, our tribal sovereignty, and each tribe is unique. And the information that we give, it needs to be, make sure that it's protected at all costs. And so, and that really information is the two-way street, that whatever information is going in, we make sure we get to see what information is going out before it hits the public. And also, specifically just to my nation, the Muskota Creek Nation, we're not a public health authority, but we are a tribal health system. And so it is my understanding that there is maybe a different definition of the two. And so even though we're not a accredited public health authority, we should be just looked at just as important as one, because we're a tribal health system. And so we have a lot of employees, we have a lot of patients coming in and out every single day. And so I don't see why there shouldn't be any designation as far as being treated differently between a public health authority and a tribal health system. And so, so really, if we're putting data in, we should be able to get data out, and we should be treated the same. But for now, I think that's about all I have as far as the request and concerns. So, so I'll leave it. Whatever.
Thank you, Assistant Chief. Any comments?
Thank you for those comments, Second Chief Beaver. I think that when we as collectively were developing the roadmap that Delight spoke to, we went through and grounded those in some guiding principles. And at the top of the list of those guiding principles for us was respecting tribal data sovereignty. So it is important to us, and as CDC, and I know that the director has spoken to the TAC on this before, is that CDC as an agency definitely does respect tribal sovereignty. And so we want that to be one of our active guiding principles in everything that we do around supporting data modernization and data sharing. So I appreciate those comments. I think that we also recognize that, as you were saying, that each tribe is unique. And I think as we reach out and engage, we definitely want to respect those differences and really, as subject matter experts, come willing to work with you where you are, recognizing that your unique needs and the public health functions that you have are different from other tribes, other techs. And we want to make sure that the assistance that we're providing really is respecting the context of which you're performing your public health functions. So we respect and we certainly acknowledge the differences. And as we scale up the technical assistance through the implementation centers, that's really going to increase the capacity. And one of the guiding principles of that work is to meet our partners where they are as relates to the ability to receive data, to manage their data, to build the infrastructure needed to use the data, because we know it's not sufficient just to turn on the faucet to have data coming in, that you need to have the solid data infrastructure so that you can manage those data and, of course, use them. There's no sense having the data if we can't use them to protect the health of the community. So we'll have that increased capacity to be able to do that. So we're looking forward to being able to share, as I said, more details on that as it surfaces. Thank you for the comments.
Thank you. Any others from the Tribal Advisory Committee? And also remember that you can yield your time to an alternate or a technical advisor or a guest. I'll continue here a little bit. Brian Warner, Deputy Principal Chief, Cherokee Nation, Oklahoma area delegate. We talked a little bit. I do appreciate coming from being a former instructor of chemistry and microbiology. Examples really make the biggest difference. So I appreciate some of the examples that you've given on what you're doing on the Data Modernization Initiative. More specific elements, what different elements that you have would be helpful in the future, because I think for me, you know, as a representative of the Cherokee Nation and all of our citizenry, I feel like I'm obligated to be able to explain a lot of what we're doing. And sometimes if we're not in that vein specifically, if I can get more relatable examples of what we're doing, who you're doing these with, that helps so much, because I'm thinking about the individuals that many may not know where Nycut, Oklahoma is, or Greasy, Oklahoma. I want to be able to go down there and explain to them, because they want to know, why do you go to Atlanta? Why is this important? And I want them to understand that our government to government relationships are so important. So more material that we can share with other leaders, more material that we can share with our health directors. That will help that ultimate goal of that understanding. I feel like that's one of my main purposes, is to help individuals understand what we're really doing, what's been done in the past, where we're at today. So I do appreciate, though, you both came with some very good information about the tribes that you're working with, that the things that are underway. I would encourage, let's continue to do that, and even more detailed, you know, to a specific element of where I can take this back to our individuals that go out, because we have a group of community health workers that we were able to, at least Pivic was able to capture a grant, and we started to empower individuals that come from specific communities, that then they work within their communities, whether it's language, healthcare, career, whatever it is. I want them to understand really that public health is 80% of healthcare. The other clinical side of this is that umbrella that protects. And I want them to, you know, because they hear data, they don't necessarily understand that data, your personal data, is one of the hottest commodities on the market today. And that is something that we hold very sacred, and so forth. Another, and this is basically a pointed question of around the development of the implementation center for tribes. Like, how do you plan to involve tribes, and then basically who's operating that center? And I'll turn it back to you.
No, thanks for those comments and the question. To your comments, we certainly do appreciate the need for more of that storytelling. We've been working with some of our funded partners over the last year to be able to tell those stories better, because we know they resonate. We know that with some of our recipients, whether they're tribes or some of the texts, is that they're also looking to the experiences of other tribes, not necessarily through some of our state and local public health departments, because as Second Chief mentioned earlier, those differences and the contextual factors that just differ. And so we've been thinking through and actually planning our first sort of learning community with our recipients to sort of share the knowledge about how they're using training to sort of upskill their native staff. And so having a forum just to share the various experiences that they've been able to use their data modernization funding to achieve with one another, I think is a powerful tool. For the implementation centers, the CDC has awarded through a specific mechanism to 3 national partners, and it's those national partners who are putting out the solicitation for the implementation centers themselves. So the national partners are that will be facilitating the tribal specific implementation center is a national network for public health institutes. And so they're just in the process now of putting that solicitation together. So we don't have information on who the awardee will be for that implementation center, but we do expect that will be before the next TAC meeting, that we will have decided on who that implementation center is, and we'll be able to provide that information along with how we can actually plug you into the work of that implementation center, because their work is to support data modernization within Indian country.
Thank you. And just a friendly reminder about, you know, going to the tribes early and often. I know you hear that a lot, but, you know, I feel like a very important piece of that, you know, if it is something that is truly for tribes, that we have them in on the early onset so many times. And gosh, I'm still in my infancy stages when it comes to public health and understanding and being a part of this body, but I do understand in the past, not so many times that was not done. And then tribes can feel slighted on the other end of that because we, as sovereign nations, we understand our people. We hope that our leaders understand their people across the area. So just another friendly reminder of that, as that could be the key piece, the key cog in the wheel to make sure that I know the individuals that are going to be a part of that, they don't want to just work in vain. They want it to be successful. And I think when we come together, Cherokee Nation, we call it Gadugi, working together. That is the number one piece of our community values. And so that involvement will be paramount to success. So, thank you. Any others? Do we have anybody online that? Dr. Stan, what's that? Okay, if there's not anybody else, I'll turn the floor to Dr. Sharon Stanfield.
Thank you, Chief Warner. Sharon Stanfield, Portland area, and I'm the rep at large. Thank you for CDC Tech. I really appreciate the presentation. It was lovely, and I've had the opportunity to help with the toolkit. I think that we're onto something really good here, and I think tribes are going to be grateful for that as we start to roll it out and pilot it. If I could shift just a little bit to talking about epidemiology centers and data and access to data. And some of these, I'm asking these these requests came from back in September, and I wanted to ask if we have any answers to some of the questions that we addressed back then. As the CDC is aware, the government, the GAO report of March 2022 reported that most of our techs, our tribal epidemiology centers, face significant barriers to accessing data from CDC and from IHS. And despite being legally designated public health authorities, they're still having to wait months, if not years, to get some data that's vital. A lot of our tribes in the Northwest, we are building capacity to be able to do our own data at home, but we're still using our Northwest Tribal Epidemiology Center and starting new projects. So we're having to utilize our tech, and it's becoming more and more difficult when they're not able to access data directly. They have to go through multiple agencies and centers to be able to get the data that they need. And so a couple of my requests here is to ask again, what additional steps has the CDC and the HHS taken to ensure that they can get direct access to public health data, not just our tribes in the Northwest and across the country, but for our techs? And then the second question I have is, how will the CDC Data Modernization Initiative create simplified and direct access to tribes and techs with the data that's held here at the CDC? Thank you.
I appreciate the questions and comments. I know that there is to be a set discussion sort of after this session to speak specifically to the HHS data sharing policy, for which there was the consultation earlier in the month and follow up. We can, I think, return to some of those comments specifically to that data sharing policy in response to the GAO report. As for what actions we're doing internally within CDC, the roadmap project that Delight was talking about is really central to that, is understanding that a number of areas across CDC are responsible for helping you access and use data. We want to make sure that we are providing sort of a more internally, coordinated front in doing that. And so the development of this roadmap is to do just that, is understand how we position ourselves better as one agency, not individual programs, to tackle this issue of making sure that the data are available. Because we certainly share the frustration, and it's been visible to all of us when requests for data come in and it can't be handled, and we work to sort of navigate and support the release as appropriate of those data. But this is be the first time that we have sort of a roadmap where we can, as an agency, put forth a direction where we can actually be more strongly coordinated. Once the HHS tribal data sharing policy has been fully completed, CDC is then looking to then have an aligned data sharing policy developed internally here as well. We recognize that that will take some time, and so the work of the priority action team to put together this roadmap is taking action right now. As Delight said, we want to make sure that we have specific goals over the next 12 and 24 months that we can be accountable for, and assuring that we are doing what we can now to increase that access and the ease of use, because we know that it is challenging to navigate throughout CDC to find where you can access the data, what data are available, what data elements are within those data sets. And we want to make sure that we can simplify and streamline those processes for all of you. I know initial steps were taken to develop some sort of web gateway and directions to point folks to in terms of requesting data. So that is up and running, and I know that some requests coming through there have been assisted in making sure that those requests are fulfilled. And we look to sort of build that out and make it even a more streamlined and efficient process. Anything to add?
Well, my additional comment, but you covered everything so well. Again, just to disentangle the GAO report, the HHS policy from the work of this body, public healthers inside CDC had already recognized there was a need to provide more coordination, support each other internally, learn from each other, because, you know, we are a whole bunch of centers, institutes, and offices. And informally, some of us knew who was where and how to connect with them and seek their expertise in supporting this surveillance program or that. But the new goals around data modernization for CDC have brought that community of experts together in a new way and with some shared goals. And then on top of that, we have the support of things like the GAO report or the developing HHS policy, which, you know, adds more to our internal efforts. I think that's about it. There will be more information later in the day, and then we can also work with the Office of Tribal Affairs and Strategic Alliances to ensure that you know who is leading the point for the agency in responding to the HHS policy. That would be helpful as well. Did we respond to your items?
Yes, thank you. I realize this is a separate initiative from the policy and such. I just wanted to, it's still somewhat the same. It's data and it's sovereignty. And I just want to make sure we don't lose sight of that in our project, because this project will roll out to techs and to tribes. So thank you.
Yes, Second Chief Dale Bieber.
Thank you, Chief Warner. I can't stress enough, and I don't mean to beat anybody over the head with this, but it's all about tribal sovereignty. As elected officials, elected tribal leaders, that's my job, is to protect tribal sovereignty at all costs. And so it's nobody can tell our story except for us. And so that's why it's very important that information that we share is protected at all costs, because that's our information. And so, Chair, if you may, can I allow one of my technical advisors to talk on this subject?
Yes, you.
There's a microphone in the
Mike,
corner.
yeah.
Chief Dale Beaver from the Muskogee Creek Nation. It's an honor to be here with you guys this morning. And just to kind of give a real life scenario of what has happened to us at the Muskogee Nation, as well as the other tribes within Oklahoma, just to kind of give you the magnitude of what can happen when data goes awry, if you will. Most recently, this past year, we had our own TECs there in Oklahoma do a mass production of the tribe's data without tribal consultation and the use of our own tribal seal as it related to opioid abuse and overuse in the state of Oklahoma. I don't know if anybody is aware of the relationship that we have with our governor, Governor Stitt. It's not the best relationship. And then to add to, many of the tribes in Oklahoma have a pending lawsuit and settlement ongoing right now as it relates to opioid use. And so the release and publication of such data without consultation, the potential harm instead of helpfulness that it can be to the tribes is very uncanny. It was unthoughtful. It was very disrespectful. And it was something that as tribes, we do not appreciate. We did share that with our TEC, but that is one real life example that can happen should we utilize TECs to tell the story of the tribes when it is our responsibility, it's our story, it's our data, the lack of tribal consultation, and where we are today. So I appreciate that. But
Anyone else with a comment? Anybody online? Well, seeing no comments or questions, I do want to thank Ms. Satter and Dr. Kucik again for a wonderful presentation and lots of good comments. And I want everybody to understand I think before you get in the car, when we're talking about a roadmap, we're headed somewhere. That ultimate thing is how do we get in there? And that's that understanding of tribal sovereignty. Now how we go, it's a state function on how you get somewhere. It doesn't matter where you come from. It matters how you're getting there. So our tribes and everything, they get to determine who helps them and how they do what they want to do. But the main piece is to make sure that our tribes have been consulted, that sovereignty is understood, and again, excited about data. We need more people out there. This is why I want to understand more about data, what we can do with data. I want to thank Ms. Pivick and her team back home and our Working Together group, because I want more individuals like you two that understand data, that work for our tribe, that work with our government, with our federal partners to understand that. So we have to raise up. So Delight, in reference to what you were talking about, where do we want to be in the next 100 years? I need a whole lot more data, folks, because, in our area, our neck of the woods, sometimes oil and gas, it gets talked about a lot, but I want everybody to understand that tribal data, it tells the story about you. So we need our kids, we need our youth to understand. So we need to push those individuals gently towards something that is very rewarding, because then we're not just throwing a dart at a map. We have a strategy and what we want to do. And sometimes our funding mechanisms, instead of throwing money at something, we think this might be a good idea. A lot of the times data can tell us that it's a good idea, or which has the better probability of hitting the mark. So again, thank you to our presenters. Thank you to those that have made comments. Very much appreciated. So at this time, we'll be taking a brief break from, looks like we're a little bit past 10:15. So we'll break till 10:25. We'll reconvene and open the floor for TAC members. So we will be back at 10:25 and start back with our TAC business at 10:30. So what don't?